She came home and asked if we ever thought about letting her attend Pathways. Since we were not familiar with a charter school, we truly hadn't really thought about it. We gave permission to her to attend the field trip with her class members to check out the school, then come home and sit and tell us what she thought about it. She was so happy and excited when she came home. Her experience in just that one short afternoon trip left an impact on my wife and I. I knew we had to check out this option for her. I've never seen her so motivated about what she wanted for herself and education. My wife and I decided to attend the Parents' Night at Pathways, and when we attended that, we were blown away what their options could be and how they can learn, and what areas they can learn in 2 years. Then go on to high school, and how you can have an internship by your senior year, which is huge. Pathway provides hands-on and flexible learning that a lot of kids that can't have traditional schooling need. And if we don't give them that option, we're kidding ourselves. There's a lot of kids that can't learn straight out of a book. Not every kid's book smart. Kids have a different way of learning. Look at the kids that are engineers. They didn't start learning out of a book. They're doing everything hands-on, and that's what we need to. Without Pathways, I'm not sure where we'd be able to go. We'd probably have to go to a private school or maybe homeschooling. So please consider keeping this as an option, because there's a lot of kids in this district that are just like her too. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Sean Beck. Sean Beck, and then Mark Euchre will be after Sean.
My phone will work. Alright, I'm Sean Beck. I'm a student at Pathways Charter School, and my address is 224 Wisconsin Street, West Bend, Wisconsin. Pathways is a school where everyone can learn in their own unique way. A place where students can share their ideas and support one another on what they're working on. At Pathways, I feel like I can learn better, and I can do a project on almost anything I'm interested in, and it really helps with my learning, and it can, almost everyone at Pathways is friends, not just the students, but the coaches too. There's a personal connection between each student and a coach. We've had the same 4 coaches for the last 3 years, and we've had time to become close and to know each other. Kids at Pathways are treated like adults, for better or for worse, which prepares us for the real world and responsibility. Now I'm going to talk about each coach and how they each matter to me. First is Coach Balzar, my personal favorite coach. Sorry, but I gotta have one. Before Balzar came to Pathways, or even in middle school at Silverbrook, I hated social studies with a burning passion, and it was always my least favorite subject. But when Balzar came to the school, he shined a new light on social studies and how it can be fun. Balzar has helped me through school issues and personal ones too. He's probably my favorite person to talk to at Pathways. Another thing Balzar has done over time is taken me from the slacking off kid who never does any work, and has turned me into a kid who gets A's and B's in his classes. Next is Coach Buss. Now all the science teachers we've had at Pathways, Buss is truly the best. She goes over the top when explaining things and is always there when we need help. Even though science has always been my favorite subject, she has made it so fun to learn science. She's given me, she's made it so fun to do labs or even when we're taking notes. She's also given me the opportunity to exceed in science by doing physics and chemistry in the same year. Third is Coach Euchre. Now, this is the coach I probably spent the least amount of time with. But he's a great teacher and is always accepting of our feedback, even though most of it is very sarcastic. And he always knows what's best for our learning, even though we always reject it, and he always knows what's best and is always trying to get us new ways to learn and new ways to learn better and faster. And last but certainly not least is Coach Thurline. Thurline has made math very easy over the years and has taught me many new ways to figure out equations and get quicker at solving problems. She's also a really fun person to talk to. She's probably the biggest geek at Pathways, and I always love talking to her about Harry Potter while she's helping me with my math. Yeah, I hate math, but she's always there to support me and make sure I get my problems right every time. Lastly, I just want to say, if you take away the school, you're taking away friendships and connections that could not have been found in any other place. You're also taking away the only place I get to express my creative freedom and find value in academics. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sean. Mark Euchre and then Chelsea Donnan Davis.
Hello, my name is Mark Euchre. I live at 325 South 9th Avenue in West Bend, and I'm speaking in support of Pathways Charter School. Since last year, I have been the English coach at Pathways Charter School, but tonight I'm speaking as a parent. My son, Simon Euchre, is a senior at Pathways Charter School. I would like to take this opportunity to share a little bit about how much Pathways has meant to myself, my wife, and our son. Simon struggled in elementary school because his teachers didn't really know what to do with him. As a kindergarten teacher, how do you teach a kid that already knows how to read, write, multiply, and divide before entering kindergarten? To their credit, his elementary teachers tried to find things for Simon to do that engage his intellect, but not always successfully. When Simon got to Badger in 6th grade, he really started having some trouble. Simon's on the autism spectrum, and he struggles in social situations and with chaos. His experience at Badger was so bad that my wife and I were very afraid that his needs were no longer being met. Then we heard that the West Bend School District was opening a brand new project-based charter school. We did some research on project-based learning and decided to give Pathways a try. We were so excited about it that we let Simon cut the ribbon at the opening ceremony. The change in Simon was transformational. When I picked Simon up from Pathways and asked him about his day, he usually had glowing things to say about Pathways. Simon and I often discussed the real-world applications of his projects that he was working on at Pathways. One of those projects prompted us to go to MSOE during Simon's 8th grade at Pathways. When I talked to a student at the admissions desk asking for information, he looked at Simon and said something along the lines of, "He's a little young." When I told him that Simon was in 8th grade and currently taking AP Calc, we suddenly were having an impromptu interview with an MSOE admissions officer. I do not believe that that would have happened had Simon not been attending Pathways. In the intervening years, Simon has been able to do so much math that he took a 5-credit math course through UW Online the summer after his sophomore year. Pathways has allowed Simon to feed his love of math and science, and the nature of Pathways allowed him to frequently revise projects if the coaches felt they were not of the quality that they expected from him. So, instead of Simon's teachers trying to come up with ways to engage his intellect, at Pathways, Simon and other students design their own projects that they find interesting, engaging, and challenging. Because of Pathways Charter School, Simon has gone from a social wallflower whose unique intellect was largely lost in school to a young man who my wife, myself, and many of Simon's teachers believe stands a very good chance of getting into Johns Hopkins for chemical and biomolecular. Pathways Charter School needs to be renewed for the future Simons in the West Bend School District. To not renew the charter would be to say that Simon and students like him do not matter, which we can all agree is clearly not the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.